Good morning in Carlstead. Good morning in Kindred, home of the Vikings. Thank you for making KFGO number one in the morning, number one all day long. The KFGO Morning Crew, Doug Leier, Amistadi, getting your Wednesday peak of the week set for you.
And a lot of us will be picking out our Easter ham this week, so we thought we could use some expert advice.
Lord knows we could use some help, folks.
Eric Berg is an NDSU professor, Meat Science Department, joining us here on the KFGO Morning Crew. Good morning to you, Eric.
Good morning. Broadcasting live from the NDSU Carnivore Cave.
We like
the
that.
Carnivore Cave. Wow. Man, I am just. Is it cold and chilly? Do you have like the smell of cured pork drifting through?
Yeah, when my father-in-law comes to visit, he says our house is so cold you could hang meat in here.
That's great. That's great, Eric. We're so glad to have you help us out because here's maybe the place to start. If we're planning on having Easter for the Easter ham, the Easter ham for dinner on Sunday, when should we start planning to buy our ham?
Oh man, well. You have a ton of choices out there. I was out perusing in the local grocery stores and all kinds of stuff. And the big thing is you don't have to go really early. It's kind of, think about like buying your Thanksgiving turkey. If you get a frozen one, you're going to need more time for that to thaw. Hams, they're all fresh. So, you can start looking around. Maybe do some perusing, do some Googling about what kind of, if you want to put a glaze on it or some kind of recipe, something fancy to do, you can start preparing that way. But really, hams are goof-proof.
I'm going to ask maybe, are all hams smoked, or is a ham basically a pork roast before it's smoked?
It's a pork roast. Actually, a ham first is called a fresh pork leg. Okay, so that's just like a fresh pork leg roast. And you can get those too. They're not so easy to find, but we usually say 73% of that pork carcass is cured. So all hams are cured with in one form or another, but not all of them are smoked. So they could just be cooked thoroughly.
Sure.
And they apply a smoke to them, and those could be two different things.
Well, so then is there a benefit to waiting until Friday to buy your ham or waiting until Saturday to buy your ham if you're going to have ham dinner on Sunday?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
See, the great thing about ham is because they're, for the most part, all of them are fully cooked. So you're just reheating. You're
Sure.
not really cooking. I help out with the Kindred Fire Department fundraiser every year, and we get pre-tempered prime ribs. So I always tell people that I'm reheating, I'm not cooking. So that's kind of what you do with a ham. And you're going to have to, so for prep time, usually it says on the label anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes per pound. Now remember, this is a solid chunk of muscle, so it's different from that turkey. And again, if you're going to compare Thanksgiving and Easter for the meal, ham's a lot easier. And I would suggest all your listeners to go get yourself a good meat thermometer and invest the money in one of those that you can get a remote broadcast. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. You can get them for $50 or less. But it's got that high temperature connection to it, and you stick that thermometer right in the middle of the ham, and then you just carry the transmitter around with you, and it'll tell you when it's up to temperature.
Eric Berg, NDSU Professor of Meat Science, joining us here on the KFGO Morning Crew.
Live from the Carnivore Cave.
Yes, from the Carnivore Cave. Yeah. But if they're fully cooked, we still need to make sure that the ham comes up to a certain temperature?
No, you don't have to. Just like when you go to the deli, you can carve right off of there if your preference is to have ham sandwiches for Easter lunch or dinner. And that's the beauty of ham. After you've got leftovers, it's very versatile for lots of different things afterwards.
But if your company expects warm ham, what should our temperature?
Could we damage it if we cook it too hot, too long?
Well, there's a danger it's going to dry out. So here's a tip with just things most people have around in their kitchen. So if you just have like a 1-inch deep baking pan, you can put a little liquid in there. I know some people, they'll put rings of pineapple on their ham, make it fancy looking and stuff. You could pour pineapple juice in there or just plain water, and then put one of those cookie that you put your hot cookies on after you take them out of the oven. Just a cookie rack.
Yeah.
You can put that in there so the ham's off of the pan above the liquid a little bit. And then put a tent of tin foil over it, and it'll stay nice and juicy. And because the ham is cured with a brine solution or a curing solution, it holds onto that moisture real well. So you're going to have to really cook the bejesus out of it to make it dry.
Oh, and I tried doing it on the grill, and I think they were maybe slices, and they got dried out really fast. Is it advisable to cook a ham on a grill?
Well, I don't want to cook it in the oven, and you can. But, again, use indirect heat and put something to keep the moisture up in there. If it's nice, it's supposed to be beautiful out. People want to be outdoors. That's fine. You just treat it like your oven and don't look at like you're making a pork butt.
Eric Berg, NDSU Professor of Meat Science, joining us here on the KFGO Morning Crew. We're talking Easter hams. How much would you suggest per person, like when we're buying a ham? I mean, and I know ham is really good and leftover too, but what would you generally suggest?
I'm going to give you that classic answer. It depends. Okay, so if it's all adults, if they're adults and they're football players, then just make it easy and go 3/4 of a pound per person. Just because again, ham is so versatile with your leftovers. I like to have the leftovers. If you got a lot of little kids, teenagers, sometimes they eat a lot. I don't know, 1/4 to half a pound, depending on how thin you're going to slice it. Is it boneless? Is it bone-in? Keep that in mind, too.
And I know this is a big thing for a lot of people. Ham is salty, right? But is there some cuts of ham? I know my mom used to buy one, and it like had a thick skin and a grizzle on it. I think she thought that was less salty. I'm not even sure. Is that a ham hock or what is that?
So the skin can be left on some traditional hams, but then definitely if the skin was left on, you're not going to get as much penetration of the salty brine. But boy, that would have to have been like a ham hock or something.
Okay.
But,
ham is generally
you can get low low-salt ham.
Oh, you can.
There, but I wouldn't recommend it because they're not going to be as delicious.
I hear you. Is salt added to a ham then during the curing process?
Well, you can cure a ham with salt. You can do salt-cured ham. You can do sugar-cured ham. There's lots of different options out there. So the traditional way was to rub a ham. And the reason that they use the salt is because it's a preservative, because it works as a preservative in two ways. It helps to dry out, because if it's higher moisture, that's a great medium for bacterial growth. But by rubbing that salt on there, and then you got to let it sit so that salt and the rub, there's lots of different recipes that you can have, use salt or sugar, has to penetrate into the muscle for the curing to occur.
Now, do you guys have... Oops, go ahead.
Also, that's going to include a nitrate or a nitrite, which that's what gives it its pink color. Okay, so if it's nitrate, then, well, I could get into all this weird science, but I won't. So that's what gives it the pink color.
Isn't the nitrate the thing that sometimes people are allergic to and they get headaches off that? Is that nitrates?
Isn't that monosodium glutamate?
I don't know. You're the expert, not me. Is that not nitrates? Okay. It's different.
I suppose if it was too high, but leafy green vegetables, in order for photosynthesis to occur, they're higher in nitrates than ham, and over time that's going to diminish in a muscle food.
Okay. Very important question too. Do you guys have any ham for sale up there at the Meat Science Lab?
Oh, I should have checked on that before I did this call. I don't know. I know we have some smoked turkey.
Yes. Oh, and not everybody likes ham either. Maybe they want some smoked turkey or other items. So if they called over to the NDSU Meat Lab, we should be able to get our questions answered that way, right?
That is correct.
Do you have that number at the top of your head, or I can do the Google real quick too?
You better do the Google because I don't want to give the wrong number.
No. Does 231-8107? That sounds right?
Correct.
All right.
That's it.
Very good. Great advice. Eric, it's been fun chatting with you. We'll catch you down the road again. How's that sound?
Yeah. Thanks. Anytime.
You bet. From the Meat Cave at NDSU, Eric Berg, NDSU Professor of Meat Science. Gosh, learned a lot of stuff there, joining us here on the KFGO Morning Crew. And for another check on our weather, we go find Marshall Downing, KVRR meteorologist. Hey there, Marshall.
Hey, how's it going?
We are doing good here. Is it Gulf weather yet today or not quite? The past couple of days, you had to really be a diehard the past couple of days to do any golfing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say today's the best for it either, more just because it's cold. The winds are finally calming down. So next couple of days are looking better. We'll be in the 50s tomorrow.